Welcome to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that's Ben, that's Alonso, that's Christy. Two of us were not qualified for this year's Olympic documentary. Two of us
failed
were.
the urine test.
Exactly. Two of us were. Those two are going to talk about Icarus because Ben and I were not allowed to compete.
I brought in fake samples. That's my dog's pee.
They're frozen. All right, so nominated for an Academy Award and currently available on Netflix. Icarus is Brian Fogel's film about the Russian doping scandal, although it doesn't start that way. It kind of starts as super hormone me, where he decides that as an amateur bicyclist, he is going to do a program of human growth hormone and pass the P test and show how the whole system is rigged and ridiculous. But then he gets involved with a Russian scientist who winds up becoming a whistleblower, and it gets really fascinating. Take a look.
Were you the mastermind that cheated the Olympics?
Yes.
99% of Russian athletes are guilty of doping.
It's worse than we thought.
This goes all the way back to 1968. Every sport.
We are top-level cheaters.
This all can be proved. It's quite mind-blowing.
Interesting here that, this is not the movie he meant to make.
No.
This is his first documentary.
Yeah.
It's mostly about him at the beginning, and he's not terribly interesting. Like he wants to do this crazy hardcore race that's like the amateur version of the Tour de France.
Right.
And it's
the haute
route.
Haute
Yeah.
route,
And it's
yes.
incredibly steep and arduous and many, many days of it. And what's interesting though is that he finds that when he does it finally on the steroids.
When he's juiced.
Right, when he's juiced, he actually falls further in the standings.
He does worse.
He's close to the top 10. He wants to crack the top 10. That's his goal. He's like, okay, I'm going to get it all juiced up and do it. And then he actually does his worst.
Yeah, he goes from like number 14 to number 28 or whatever. But what happens is he gets involved with this guy,
Grigory Rodchenkov.
Grigory Rodchenkov.
Who's a total character.
Yes, who has been involved with sort of Russian sports and anti-doping for a long time, and an American lab guy at UCLA or USC?
UCLA.
UCLA at first is going to help out Fogel, and then he's like, this is my reputation, but you should talk to Grigory. And so these guys start Skyping and they become friends, and there's this whole insane thing of like Grigory telling him what stuff to take and like having to smuggle the urine out to Russia so it can be tested at a WADA certified lab, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency. And then when Rodchenkov decides to spill all, then he has to come to the United States and hide out, and he is currently in witness protection because the Russians are out to get him. And we find out that the Russians don't get banned from the Rio Olympics, but they did get banned this year finally.
Kind of.
Well, yeah.
Well-ish.
Alina Zagitova can still win the gold medal, but she is an Olympic athlete from Russia.
Right, but didn't one of them even pass a P test or fail a P test?
The captain of the women's bobsled team got caught doping and also inauspiciously wearing a T-shirt that says, "I don't do doping." And she got caught doping.
Well, it seems like an odd sport that you would need to dope in. I mean, I get you got to push the sled fast, but
it's a heavy thing. Have you ever tried to be an Olympic bobsledder?
No.
Neither have I.
So
I can assume it must be tough. I don't know.
And then apparently now the IOC is wussing out again because I just got an email this morning from a press release from the lawyer for Grigory Rodchenkov, Jim Walden, who says Bach and the IOC treat Russia and its glaring acts of aggression with cowardice and appeasement. Weakness in the face of evil results in no good outcomes. What Russia did at Sochi was evil, directed at the Olympics and clean athletes. Its reaction since, lies, blames, threats, and retaliation, is a broader form of evil. Well, okay. So anyway, so this movie kind of gives you this front row seat for this escalating like world embarrassment and the realization of what's been going on in Russian sports. I will say this, it reminded me of how people who were not as into Citizen4 tried to say that movie was just, they got lucky and they were in the right place at the right time, and that's what makes that movie interesting. And I would say, well, they were, but there's other things in that movie that make it interesting.
You still have to make it into a movie that is compelling and coherent and all that.
Exactly. This one feels a little more like, whoa, you really hit the jackpot on this one. And not that it's not well made, but you can tell this guy is sort of a first-time filmmaker, and once it goes into the whole like whistleblowing aspect, it's like watching a really good news magazine segment.
It is, yeah. It's not. It's workmanlike from a
Yes,
visual
good
perspective.
word.
But I will say that it is a more engaging spy movie than Red Sparrow, for
Oh, hell
example.
yeah.
You know, if we're talking about Russian spies and dangerous, shadowy Russian figures, this is definitely more compelling. Once Brian Fogel knows enough to step out of the way
Yes.
and let Grigory Rodchenkov be the center of it, and he's just a weirdo, and his apartment is like, Russian kitsch, and he's got his dog he's talking to, and he's shirtless all the time.
He's shirtless all the time.
He's hilarious. Yeah, it's Putin fashion style.
There you go.
Right, it's catching on. So once he knows to do that, it does
Why do you have a
become
shirt?
pretty tense.
I'll take it off.
Yeah.
Like, he lets the drama of it play out for itself. I don't know that it necessarily deserves an Oscar nomination over some other movies that I would pick for Best Documentary Feature, like Let It Fall, for example, about the LA riots.
Or
There's a lot-
Ex Libris.
yeah, there's a lot of movies that I think deserve this spot.
Yeah,
I guess if it's a piece of like advocacy journalism that shines a light on, a scandal, which is still happening now,
Right.
I guess it's relevant. It was.
No, I mean, I think it's historical moment
Yeah.
is important because there had been a German TV doc about Russian doping, but it didn't really lead to anything. And then, so it wasn't until Rodchenkov really kind of came out about this stuff. And again, like the IOC didn't have a problem with them competing in Rio. You could make a case that this movie made it impossible for them to allow them to be in South Korea this year. So that's a thing, and that's a big deal for a documentary. Although that, I don't know, but you're right. That just because that's not necessarily Oscar worthy per se.
In terms of even like craft, for example,
Yeah.
there are much better made documentaries. This played at Sundance last year,
Yes.
and Netflix picked it up for a lot of money, and then it was out theatrically, and it came out on Netflix in like August, I want to say. So we're playing catch up with it rather late, but we wanted to get to it before the Academy Awards on Sunday. I do not think this is going to win.
The Russian hackers will make sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to win. I think it'll probably be your favorite Faces Places.
I would love
which
that.
we also reviewed on What the Flick this past week. Or Last Men in Aleppo, which is devastating, which is like, really serious, immersive advocacy journalism and hard to watch. So I don't think it'll be this, but we're talking about it.
Did you guys see Wormwood? Anybody see Wormwood?
No.
Oh, the Errol Morris? No, I have not yet. Too much TV.
I know, but it's it's half documentary and half scripted narrative, which is a really cool blend because it's reenactments times 50. It's a movie inside of a documentary. But anyway, it seems like it should have been nominated for something. But the Academy did not know.
But it was a
it
series
is.
though, right?
It aired as a 4-hour movie first to make it eligible. It's 6 40-minute episodes.
Aired or showed in theaters?
Because after OJ Made in America one last year, they changed the rules about.
Yeah, they were. He
miniseries
would
and-
argue that they're dicks about it.
Well, there probably
Yeah,
are.
Well, nobody likes Morris anyway.
Here's the thing. I feel like I can't keep up with film and television. I don't think I could. If all I had to do was watch Netflix, I couldn't keep up with that.
Yeah,
There's
You'd
such
be
a-
like Malcolm McDowell in
Yes, there's this endless onslaught of new shit. It's like every time, and somebody will tell me about a show or a movie. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I saw an
And
ad
it's in season
today.
3. What?
I saw, first of all, I was flipping channels for the first time in years this week, and up in the
Finally figured out your remote, right?
up in the 600s, right? Or whatever system you have, 800s, and like where the home. Not where like
QVC lives?
where the house flipping channels
right.
are,
There's
whatever
this thing with old movies called Turner Classic.
Yeah, that shows. It seems like it's been on for a long time. And every show is, and I'm not kidding, season 18, episode 26, and I haven't heard of any of them.
That's because you found the season 18 network.
Yeah, the season 18 network. It's a strong channel.
Premium.
But I just saw an ad for Sneaky Pete on Amazon with Giovanni Ribisi and Margot Martindale,
Which I need to watch. Again, it's all
and-
on my very long
and I
list
had
of shows I
a
haven't gotten to.
simultaneous dual reaction of, oh great, I loved season 1 of Sneaky Pete, and crap, now I got to watch Sneaky Pete. Like I don't.
You gotta watch that back to
When
back.
am I going to find time to
You gotta
watch
watch
Sneaky
that
Pete?
back to back with Peaky Blinders, which is now in what, season 4? You
Yeah.
gotta have
Oh,
the Sneaky Peaky.
Sneaky
double.
Peaky Blinders, yes.
I found Stranger Things finally. I'm proud of myself for that.
Yay.
Okay, so what's our numbers? I'm saying 7.6 on Icarus.
I said 8. It's compelling, but it's it got real. They got lucky.
Yeah, I'm saying 7.8 is our number. It's at 92% on the tomato meter. If you are curious about it, it's on Netflix, as are many other things apparently.
And you'll see clips from it on Sunday.
Bye.